Hello and welcome to Catch a Lift Coach's Corner. I am Cal lead coach Melissa Leuck, and I am so excited to welcome the founder of the Banana Diaries, an avid Cal supporter, Brittany Berlin, to the show. Brittany, welcome to the Coach's Corner.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, it's so great to have you here. How are you doing today, Brittany?
It's all good here. It's very sunny. I hope well.
I am, thank you. So I know we have a lot of stuff, today that we want to cover and talk about. Um, Let's kind of start, Brittany, and would you mind kind of sharing with us your story and what kind of ultimately brought you to a point of what, I've seen you do as healing through food. Could you talk about your journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, I have a vegan food blog where I share a bunch of, I guess, like they're healthier takes on like classics like cakes and cupcakes and cookies. But it wasn't always this really like kind of seamless relationship with food. I was diagnosed with an eating disorder at the age of 12 after I broke my arm in gymnastics. Led me through a battle of dealing with OCD and anorexia for about a decade. And during that time, I also dipped into depression. And so depression kind of was always the main focus. So the main focus was always, getting my eating disorder on track and everything. And, I was in and out of inpatient treatment, had to leave school at some point during, my first year of college. And then, and got to this healthy weight, but I'd always focused on the physical aspect of it. It was always
Right.
about like, okay, so like, let's get me to be physically functioning, which is so important. I mean, where, yeah, I wasn't functioning at all physically. I had passed out in the middle of class and like had to be rushed to the hospital. So,
Jeez.
um, yeah, it's wild to look back on it because it doesn't feel like me now. But
Right.
basically, so I did physical health, and I ended up transferring colleges. This was my first year of college. I transferred to a new college, and physically doing great, but OCD was like on the back burner, and same with depression. I always kind of assumed that like the depressive thoughts were more because of the eating disorder,
Right.
when really it was kind of like an overarching thing. So depression hit me, and it got really bad my junior year of college to the point where I tried to take my life, and thankfully I was unsuccessful at that, and I ended up going through treatment to that. But um, a month later, after I got out of treatment, I found out that one of my friends from my first college, he actually passed away from depression, and
Oh,
so
man.
that kind of
Yeah.
was I mean, there are so many emotions that you feel when you go through that,
Right.
like losing someone, especially like after having gone through those same feelings. You feel anger, you feel resentment, but also just sadness and like feeling, yeah, really capture it. But it was almost like Adam then became my motivation to get better. I struggled a lot with like the guilt of like, why was I here and he wasn't? And then I ultimately found that, I can't live a second chance. Like I cannot live my life thinking, you know, not living my life to the fullest, basically. So like
Right.
before, when I was, recovered from depression, like that month out or whatever, I didn't really have a motivation to keep going at that point. I kind of felt like I was just moving through the motions. But when Adam left, it was kind of like this kickstart to like, okay, I'm not going to waste another moment here. Like this is my chance. Like if he's not here, I'm going to live it out and like do everything I can to make sure that like no one else could do that. And so I basically, I tried all the traditional treatment routes. Didn't really work that well for me. And, at the same time, I was still an eating disorder again, just because like I had graduated college, and I started a new job. And I think everyone has this idea that recovery is linear and,
Oh,
once
yes.
you're out
Yes.
of it.
Yes. I think we can all kind of feel you on that. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
you want it to
Yeah.
be right. It's going to be this linear path, and you're just going to continue to A, B, C, D, keep getting better on this, very measurable
Exactly.
scale like that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, it is a journey, and things come up that like weren't fully healed, and so I was dealing with that, and then I finally decided, okay, I cannot keep doing the same thing that I kept doing to treat it. I had to do something else, and so that was when I kind of took a deep dive into my mental health. Started like reading more about how the brain works, why these medications that I was being told would really help me, like why they weren't helping me when like
Right.
I've seen other people recover on them. And so I stumbled upon Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, and yeah, Dr. Susan Mortar, and basically like just plunged into meditation, into like really trying to get beyond myself, like why I had all these issues and stuff, and like all identifying with them. And it was a long journey. Like I eventually, saved up enough money to leave my job, and I had started Banana Diaries while I was at my job as well. It was like kind of like a side passion project because I was bringing
Okay.
my love back to food.
Right.
And during that, I realized that food has kind of been my gateway into this freedom. Like I found the freedom through food, and then it was eventually finding the freedom through everything else. That became my goal and my motivation, that like I can show people that like they can celebrate food, that like all people are welcome. You don't have to be vegan to enjoy a vegan cake, and you don't have to be gluten free to enjoy something. But like I also want to make sure that everyone feels included. And I think that was my main thing, is that like I want everyone to feel like it's possible and that you can do anything with your life. And I found that through meditation and just, working on myself. I think, yeah, we look to others to like tell us what to do and how to live our lives. And
Yeah.
we really have all of the power within us. And I think that's, what really drives why I make the recipes and like why I keep showing up the way I do. So that was a long-winded story, but
Oh
yeah.
my gosh. No, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that with
Yeah,
us. I
absolutely.
mean, um, we all obviously have our own journeys and everything, but I think there's pieces out of that, that a lot of us, can identify with, and so thank you for sharing that with us. Um,
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
so, I want to get into some of this other stuff, and I want to talk more about the meditation and stuff, but kind of keeping with the Banana Diaries here. Um,
Mhm.
so when you started it,
Mhm.
what did it look like then as opposed to now? Because, like now, like you said, with the vegan baking and stuff, like infancy, like what was the Banana Diaries in its infancy?
Oh, it was really, really bad photos shot in my, very dark New York City apartment, in the like tiny little kitchen. It started as an Instagram. It was really just like me finding my love for cooking again. Because before my eating disorder, I loved to bake. Like as a like 10-year-old, I was like baking cakes, and I thought that was so much fun. And
Right,
I made my own birthday cake and stuff. And so that was kind of like my way to kind of decompress after work. I wasn't like so in love with the career path that I had chosen. I was a pharma copywriter in New York City. And I wasn't vibing with, found all the medical journals very fascinating that we had to read and stuff. But it wasn't like my passion. So I, took to baking again, and like saw that, I still can enjoy it. And like, I'm finding the freedom to enjoy all the stuff that like I used to love so much before I basically like had a hiatus of living my
right,
life. Like,
right.
when you through that, like it's like you don't even like, it's not even like you're there, like you're just like this vacant shell. So yeah, it started very as a small Instagram page, and I didn't know that I wanted to turn it into a blog. But I had always loved reading blogs. I don't know if you know of Sally's Baking Addiction, or
I've heard of that
like,
one. Yes. Yep.
yeah. So I was like a big fan of that blog. I loved reading blogs, and eventually, like as I grew my Instagram, I got into social media management, and so basically that was kind of like my gateway into like building my blog, as well as, building other people's social media platforms. And then eventually it became a blog, and I realized like this is really the main hub of it all. And this is where I can document everything for everyone. And eventually it turned into vegan. So I wasn't a plant-based eater when I first started it, but over the years I've
Yeah. So I'm
evolved to be
curious.
that.
I'm curious, kind of like how that came to be, and I feel like I want to talk to you
Oh
about,
my
the
gosh, no,
vegan
no,
and
I know
plant-based.
I
But
was right
okay,
away.
so all right, so with the
Yeah.
Banana Diaries, I mean, or when did you become vegan, or when did you start exploring that plant-based life, or how did that kind of happen?
Yeah, so it was about 2 years ago, that I started. So it's really funny because before this, I thought like, oh, I'll never be vegan and stuff. Like I was so against it because I'm against labels. Really,
Right.
like I don't
Yep.
think that we should label ourselves, but I also was like, I saw a lot of people that struggle with eating disorders dip into veganism, control, but not really like embracing like what it. And so I think I was petrified of it too, because I didn't want to have all these rules and think like, oh, like, I'm vegan, and like that means like I can't eat X, X, and X, rather than thinking like it's a celebration of life. So I feel like it's kind of evolved with my meditation practice. And I don't think that like everyone has to go this route. I think we're all very different.
Right. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so as like I got deeper into meditation, I think I found myself gravitating more towards plant-based eating, and I think you just I don't want to like go deep into like the animal route, but like I think you do like you find it more of like a celebration for all of life, and you realize that like it's not just about like you as the person and what you eat, although like that's amazing. Like I think plant-based eating does like amazing things for your health. I'm not a doctor, but like I've personally seen that I feel amazing, and I'm a big runner, so
Right.
at first that was another thing too, is that like I thought like you couldn't be vegan and like a hardcore runner, but that's not the case. um but yeah, I think you also just see that like we really are all one, and like what you feel someone else feels, and like what you do impacts another person. So I think that's kind of what made me gravitate towards it. And I think it's also, I want to like dispel the belief that like all vegans are like like kind of malicious and stuff, and like very like against people that eat meat.
Right.
Like I think it's a very welcoming community, and I think that like whatever you can do in the smallest way at first, and like if you feel the call to transition, I think we're all on our own path. And yeah, that's kind of how I transitioned, and just
Okay.
like being open with myself, and knowing that like it's okay to not label myself. And like if I who knows what we're going to be doing in like 20 years, like I think it's
Yeah.
kind of hard to like attach to a label and a diet and then like have it become a part of your identity. I think that was the thing also with my eating, which was wild too, because when I was younger, I identified with being anorexic. Like that was like my thing. And then eventually like it just went away, and I realized like, oh, like I'm me, but that was just something that I experienced. And
Right.
way with like eating and stuff, and like where you live, and like none of that is a part of your identity. You are you. And then like this is all just a projection.
I
So
think so it's so interesting, Brittany, because recently I read something that you had written, and it might have been quite some time ago, but you said something to the effect, very similar than that your story is just that, or your trauma, but it's not who you are, not letting it
yeah,
become you. And I know, like for myself, that's something I've really explored a lot over the past 12 to 18 months, is separating the traumas and the things that happened to me. And I
oh,
know that can,
absolutely.
it's a difficult, but
Mhm.
I so I can really resonate, with that thought.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, the separation of the trauma, like that's a really, really hard thing to do. So like
yeah.
kudos to you, because I think that, that's it becomes a part of identity, because like we've learned that like that's a safe place to operate from. It's like a protective mechanism
Right.
almost.
Right. Yeah. So I know this is a little bit of a loaded question, kind of ask
Okay.
you, what is a vegan diet, or what is a plant-based diet? Because I know, you know, there's
Yeah.
there's a lot of kind of different vegan diets or different ways, or can you just kind of brush us on a little bit of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I'm not, like basically from all that I've read. So basically it is no animal products whatsoever, but a lot of people that eat, a plant-based vegan diet, because you could eat Oreos, but those are technically vegan, but they're not like plant-based.
Right.
Um, but plant-based is really just heavily focused on the plants. So like really trying to like stick like close to the ground, but also I think like living a forgiving life. Like um I think people get a little bit like too rigid with their diets and stuff, and like if they strictly plant based and stuff, that means they can't eat out like at a restaurant, or like eat something from a package that's technically considered vegan. Like I think that's okay. Like I think you should live your life. You shouldn't. If it's disrupting your life, then that's a negative thing.
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah, but it basically, people always like are like, can you eat eggs and stuff? Like, is milk vegan? No, like, so you don't eat any product that comes from an animal. No dairy, no eggs, no meat, no fish. But yeah, and no bone broth either, which I think a lot
Okay.
of people always forget about. Is like soups also
Right.
contain
Yeah.
bones.
Yep.
An interesting thing too is that cane sugar is technically, I mean, it's the product is actually vegan, but the way that they make it white is they use bones from an animal, which is
Really.
kind of weird. There's no bone char in the cane
Right.
sugar. I
Yeah.
read about 40% of cane sugar in all of America uses bone char. A lot of it uses beetroot, which is wild, but yeah, that was an interesting
Yeah,
fact
that's
that
interesting. I had no
I learned.
idea.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So it's great. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like I think also, soil contains animal products as well. And so like, everything, it's the whole circle of life thing, like the Lion
Right.
King, like everything
Yep.
kind of goes into each other, but like really just focusing on like, preserving animal life and all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that sounds good. And I just want to shoot out here quick to anybody listening. So Brittany has a terrific article that's up on the Catch a Lift land. She goes very in depth on vegan diet and everything. So I want to invite everybody to head over to the landing zone, check it out. Brittany has been a avid writer on our landing zone in the nutrition section. So we definitely thank you for always contributing to that too,
Thank
Britt.
you for letting me. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed it. Yeah.
Um, so, back kind of on the vegan diet, because
Yeah.
like I knew absolutely nothing about, vegan or plant-based diets before I actually read an article, that you wrote for us on it. I learned quite a bit. And we have a lot of veterans that either, are vegan, plant-based, or, they write in, they're thinking about it or would like, information. Um,
Mhm.
so, and I know you already touched on a few of them, but, what would be some benefits for a person to go on a vegan diet?
Yeah, I think honestly, you just naturally start eating less processed food, which I think we all know
Yeah,
is
that makes
a
sense.
benefit,
Right.
that we're eating living food rather than
Yeah.
food that's been dead for quite some time. Um, and I think people really underestimate the impact that can have just on your mood, and just like your overall physical well-being. Like you actually will feel more alive rather than going. I mean, technically, like potato chips are also vegan, but like really going towards, I think, and I've even seen this too with my family is now trying the keto diet. And so I've actually seen them, even though they're doing keto, like I've seen them eat more like whole, like they're like, I feel amazing. I'm like, I want to do it. I
Yeah.
think that that's a huge benefit. And I also think, it's it can be very cost effective. I think that people kind of underestimate how much protein you can get in a vegan diet. There are definitely some wonderful vegan protein sources, and it's cheaper than meat too.
Okay.
Like chickpeas, like you can get chickpeas for very cheap, and you can cook them yourself. Any beans, pea protein powder is also great and can be very effective. So yeah, I think that like, you can be saving money. I think people have this notion that like it's going to be like super expensive, but
Right.
it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be. A lot of, pantry staples are vegan. If you think about like beans and, um, ketchup and rice and grains, like there's also a decent amount of protein in, those kind of things too, like quinoa too.
Yep.
So yeah, those are definitely some benefits
Okay.
to it. And also it tastes good. Like, I mean, herbs, spices, all that stuff, like it's a lot of benefit to that.
I like that. So yeah, benefit is it tastes good and you feel good. I like that.
Yeah.
What would be kind of some risk, Brittany, or some considerations that a person should take into account if they are thinking about it?
Yeah, so I think that honestly, vitamin deficiency, which like it's ironic because you're eating so many like fresh vegetables and stuff, you think you're getting
Right.
all your vitamins. Like B12 is always a concern, and you just want to make sure that your B12 levels don't get too low because that can really that impacts your energy, your mood, like how you think, everything. And so like supplementing that at first, like always, I think just consult your doctor to make sure that, see where your vitamin levels are at and like, certain foods that you could intake more, and like what you should probably like not intake it as much because, it is possible to overdo it with the vitamins too, which
Okay.
then becomes
Yep.
a factor. Not that, eating this way is like scary, but like it is like, I think people
Educate
never
yourself
really.
and yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And also, like, lean on the professionals that, like, know your health too. I think people really underestimate that and don't seek that advice, even though the advice is always given to, like, consult your doctor when you start a new diet.
Right. Yeah.
You really should. It's just so unique and we're all so custom. Like, it's kind of hard to prescribe something that's a one size fit all kind of thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. So like you said, Britt, like you're a runner and, I know fitness is a big part of your life. Can you talk to us about for you, what does your nutrition look like around your runs? Either kind of pre or post nutrition or kind of what's your vegan recovery foods?
Yeah, absolutely. I used to be a person that like needed to have something before I ran. But recently, last few years, like I've just been, I wake up at 4 a.m. and I meditate and then I go for a run around like 5-ish. And I don't eat anything. I'll drink water. But then like afterwards, it's usually like a big bowl of, banana, peanut butter, fresh fruit. Chia seed pudding is also really amazing. And also making sure like I'm getting protein. So at that point, I'll probably also add in my pea protein powder.
Okay.
But really just like making sure that I refuel. And I think that it's also important to note that like as you become more free with your relationship with food, I think you find it's natural to just eat to where your body wants to be. Like to think like, am I eating enough today? Just because I know that my body signals will tell me if I'm really hungry, I'm gonna eat. If I'm not hungry, then like I'm good. Um, and also just like really leaning into what your body is telling you. And I think that really just comes with time and practice. There's no quick, you know,
Yeah.
pill to that.
Oh,
Obviously,
absolutely. Yeah.
you can learn, what's like best to refuel and stuff, but once you learn that and you start testing out what works, I think you'll just honestly find a rhythm that works for you. And I often get asked, because I make so many vegan treats, like, do I count calories? Do I eat everything that I, make and stuff? And I honestly, I do. I try everything that I make. Think I feel tempted to overeat or anything or undereat because I feel so at peace with my body. And I think I have so much respect for what our bodies can do. Like the amount of mileage that I run and stuff, work that we put in. I think that once you have that reverence for your body, you're never going to really disrespect it.
Yeah.
You're going to, find that harmony within you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a really good way to put it. We've got our next question is going to come from one of our viewers. They ask, what has been the biggest impact or improvement on your physical or mental health since you did go vegan?
Honestly, I think I just feel more. I feel more alive, but also like thinking about now I'm thinking about digestion. But like, so I used to be like someone that loved dairy. Like I loved my Greek yogurt, and I didn't realize like how much of an impact it had on my personal digestive system until like I cut it out, and I realized like I was less bloated. I ate less. Like I used to always have aches, and like I always thought like, I mean, this is gonna sound stupid because I'm 25, but I was like,
Oh
oh, I'm
no.
getting older. Like, I'm gonna start experiencing those aches and pains and stuff. But when I cut it out, like I didn't get any of that. And I don't think I like feel like the like ups and down. Like obviously, like I still eat sugar and stuff, but I don't think I like feel like the up and down like of the energy crashes and stuff. But in general, I think I just have more energy. Like I feel like I can like I have long days. Like I go
Yeah.
from usually 6:30 a.m., 7 a.m. of working till like 7 p.m. and I don't feel exhausted after that. So I think that's a benefit for me personally. I know that a lot of people are different. But yeah.
Okay. And I want to circle back around to just one more time because I know it's always a big topic for any of our vets. So back onto the protein and the vegan protein. So like you
Oh
said,
yeah.
there's a lot of great options. You mentioned chickpeas. You do a pea protein powder. So
Yeah.
kind of two questions in one. Can you just again kind of go over some specific vegan or plant-based proteins, but then also can you touch a little bit on vegan protein powders? And just kind of,
Yeah.
your thoughts on or your experiences.
Yeah, for sure. So I think there's you can get like an abundance of protein in all plants and vegetables, beans, even grains. Sprouted grains, specialized that like I think it was 100 calories of romaine has more protein than like 100 calories of steak or something. Obviously, that's a lot of romaine that you'd have to eat to get 100 calories. It's like that's a lot of protein then. And I think that like you don't need to have like this like I think a lot of people focus on like the big protein source and then like kind of do a little bit of like the carbs and vegetables. But when
Right.
you have like the abundance of vegetables, grains, and beans and everything, then you realize that you're actually still getting the right amount of protein. It's just not in like that one source of protein. So you have lentils. Lentils are a fantastic source of protein that I always make. Sweet potatoes actually have a lot of protein too, which is surprising. Not potatoes, but sweet potatoes. Quinoa, oatmeal actually has a lot of protein. And then there are the protein powders, which can be pretty processed. Personally, I like to use just like a straight unflavored pea protein, and then
Okay.
you can add it into soup as well, and also sweet stuff.
Oh, nice.
It's
Yeah.
literally yeah, it's by Terrasol. I think it's like $10, and you get like this massive 5-pound bag, and like it lasts you a while because you only need like a
Yeah.
tablespoon, and it's like 15 grams of protein. But I
Okay.
don't have that often. often. I really try to like lean on the like whole plant sources for the protein. There are other great ones. Like I know Nuzest, which has more flavored proteins. Spirulina also, I mean, spirulina is more of like the superfood category of, stuff. And I don't personally, like, I'm not like a big superfood kind of
Yeah.
person. I think like a lot from like what you can find in a regular grocery store,
Yeah.
but that does help with protein and nutritional yeast as well, which
Okay.
I personally taste kind of like cheesy. And it also has a lot of B12 as well.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so, you mentioned, like a lot of people think about like that big protein source. And like, I know, honestly, I'm guilty of this. So, like myself, if I'm going to, build just a standard meal for myself, I build it around, a 4 to 5, usually depending on the meal, 4 to 5 ounce piece of meat, a lean meat.
Yeah.
And I'm building around that on my plate, and then, sweet potato and a vegetable or something. What's a plate look like for you? Like if you're going to build a meal, you go into your pantry, kind of what does that meal building look like for you?
Yeah, for sure. So usually, like I'll start the week by meal prepping something. So, like last week we made a vegan lasagna. So it was like packed with lentils, cashew butter, which like made up the vegan cheese. So I
Okay.
blended cauliflower, cashew butter, and then nutritional yeast. So that has a lot of protein in it. And then I use sweet potatoes instead of noodles. I still eat regular pasta. I'm not gluten free, but sometimes I just like, you know, adding sweet potatoes. It's really good. And so then like I use the sweet potato as the noodles, and then there's tomato sauce. And so like I'll have like that massive casserole, and it'll last me throughout the entire week. And then
Okay.
I'll add in like, steamed broccoli, carbs. I'll do a batch of quinoa as well, which also has a lot of protein. So like, that plate for me will be like a serving or so of like the lasagna, a green, and then my like quinoa lentil blend that I make. And then like I put on, I eat big plates.
I like it. Yeah.
So yeah, I think like it's pretty similar. It's just I think that you do end up eating a lot more, I think, on a vegan diet. Also, just I'm well, here's a note. So when I first like went like fully vegan, I did end up dropping a little weight like naturally. And I ended up gaining it back because I think I realized like my body like kind of like naturally evened out. But you'll kind of learn that like you actually do need to intake a little bit more on the vegan
Yeah.
diet, heavily relying on like nuts and seeds. Those are also a great protein source. But yeah, you can gain weight and lose weight on a vegan diet as well, depending on what you eat. But yeah, that's kind of what
Oh,
my plate would look like.
yeah. No, thank you for that. I
Yeah.
like it. I mean, it sounds like what you're describing. I mean, it sounds delicious. And I always see, on either your blog website or on Instagram. And I mean, the food always looks amazing. And I'm like, man, Britt has
Oh,
some
thank
good
you.
eating.
That's sweet. I do
uh,
have help from my boyfriend. He's also like he's a better savory cook than I am. So
Yeah, well, it's wonderful when you have a partner or someone in your family like that you can share that stuff with, and I think
yeah,
regardless of how you eat or just your lifestyle, when you have a partner to share that with or kind of go down that journey, it certainly makes it easier or more enjoyable. You know.
it does. Yeah, you also like get less of the questions. Like
Oh
people
yeah,
will always ask, like, "What are you eating?" and stuff. And try
yeah.
to like pigeonhole you. It's interesting at family gatherings.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, it's funny.
So I want to talk to you about meditation, Britt, because I know that's something that you use quite a bit in your life. Talk to us about beginning meditation, or if someone was looking to start, kind of how someone would begin. Where can
Yeah,
we start?
absolutely. Yeah. So when I first started meditating, I could literally only sit for 5 minutes, and I couldn't even like do the full 5 minutes. I would be checking my phone, seeing like, is it over yet? Um, but so it really like I think at that point, like I was just like at my wits' end, and I was like, I just need to do something. So I think I was just so set on making it work. And it's so funny because like in therapy sessions before, like when I was in my eating disorder, my therapist would always say like, you should really try meditation. I was like, no, like my running is my meditation, which
Yeah,
I think my running really is my, it does help ground me. And that was something that like really helped me overcome like the grief of losing Adam. You actually like sit with it. I think that's when you can actually embrace the feelings and it becomes less scary. Like I think a lot of people don't realize that they bottle up so much, and they don't realize that if you just sit still with yourself and just allow it space to breathe. And, it'll feel kind of scary in the moment.
Right.
Like if you're bottling up a lot of grief or anger or sadness or pain. But working through it and like giving it that space, just to like let it all out. And it's tough to like really sit there with your body. Like you'll end
Oh
up
yeah.
in increments and stuff, like going to 20 minutes and then 30 minutes. But it really is just it's a mind workout at first, and then you realize that like you actually like it. Like it's like exercise, honestly.
Right.
Some people hate it when they first start, and then you realize like, oh my god, I need it, and it becomes a lot easier to just sit and do it. I read all of Dr. Joe Dispenza's books, but he was still writing them as I was reading. So You Are the Placebo is amazing, and I think that also really helped explain to me why medication wasn't the route for me, which it has been the route and has helped other people in my life.
Right.
But for me personally, like I think I always never going to work for me. And reading You Are the Placebo made me realize, oh, it was because of that belief that like it wasn't going to work for me.
Right.
It meant that I could find something else as my placebo, and I use meditation for that. So it really is like what you believe is going to work. And also just, becoming supernatural is a fantastic, and it really teaches you the science behind meditation, because it's so much more than just stress relief. It is really about letting go of everything that is holding you back. That, he separates it into, there's the ego mind and then there's you. And so a lot of us, we're operating from our ego mind, which is kind of like the conscious mind, we're operating at that beta level of, we're very much in our mental bodies. Whereas like with meditation, you really become more heart-centered, and you open up more, and you realize you start to respond rather than to react. And I think that's so important. And then really the meditation practice starts to leave the like pillow or wherever you sit or your chair, and it starts going out into the world. So then you realize like your whole life just becomes the meditation practice. Like it's really just about like how you're going to embrace every single challenge that's thrown at you, every single reaction, interaction. And yeah, and then you start building it into your practice. Like now, I wake up at 4 a.m. because I know that I need that meditation before I start my day, and that kind of centers me. Like, oh well, like, are you sleeping during that time? But
Yeah.
meditation, like the energy that you feel is like so electric that like you're wide awake. Like there's no way that you're asleep during it. It's pretty cool.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. That's incredible. And like I mentioned to you, like I'm trying to cultivate this into, hopefully what will become a daily practice for me. And you've definitely been an
Yeah.
inspiration to me for that, seeing you, do that every day and make that a part. Yeah. So that's been, it's cool kind of starting this journey, and I'm excited for where that goes with the meditation.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so
Oh,
Britt, you've got some other very exciting stuff coming up too. So you have a cookbook that's going to be coming out called Bake with Love this fall. Can you tell us about Baked with?
yeah. So it's an all vegan baking book. But it's basically kind of a culmination of everything that has kind of brought me to this point. Like it's just like a celebration of food, and like baking with loved ones, for your loved ones, for yourself too, because I think also people forget to show themselves love. But yeah, it was a while too to be offered it. So I was only a year into blogging, so I had Banana Diaries for air just as the Instagram, and then a year into blogging, and then I got the offer, and it was just like out of the blue. And I think also like that comes with meditation, because like you start to like kind of, I don't, yeah, I'm very big into like meditation and like the whole manifestation, quantum physics stuff. Like I think that honestly, like it was like a gift in that way. And you just like start to align with frequencies that are right for you. And so yeah, it was a lot of work. It was so worth it, but there were moments where it was 15-hour days of testing recipes.
Oh my gosh, I
But
can't even imagine.
I think my sisters were happier than I was in the moment. But uh, so many recipes, over 110, I believe, they're in the book.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's
And they're
amazing.
like 90% new recipes. There are like some Banana Diaries favorites in there. But yeah, I'm super excited. The design, we just actually like finished up the design of the book. So like basically now it's just like getting excited for it. So yeah.
And when is the date, or about is it going to be coming out?
Yeah, it's gonna be November 17th.
Oh
So right
wow.
now it's on pre-order. I haven't seen
Okay.
the physical copy, obviously, but yeah.
Oh
So
my
it's
gosh. Well,
exciting.
we're obviously so
Wild.
excited to see that, and we wish you so much. I
Yeah.
know it's going to be absolutely fantastic. I'm so excited to see it. Um,
Oh, I can't wait to send it to you guys. I hope you guys love
oh
it.
my gosh, yes. So something else I want to talk to you about, Brittany, is kind of families and food.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
so we always try to, encourage people, as much as they can, eat at home, eat whole foods with their families. Obviously, the way of the world, we're all at home now. So hopefully this is a good
Yeah.
time, people are taking advantage of that. But, I
Mhm.
wanted to ask you, how can families involve children kind of in the mealtime experience or, again, regardless of the way they eat, but how can you kind of get your children more in process?
Yeah, absolutely. I honestly think like involving them in the menu process as well is so much fun. I think like it kind of gives them some, inspiration and like not like power and control, but they feel like they're contributing to the family. So like getting them involved in like the meal planning process, and then also just like assigning smaller tasks to them. Like if you want to like have them hands-on cooking, like I think about, I get so many messages from people like moms basically with their kids making the banana bread, and it's such an easy recipe for kids to be involved too. Like, have them mash the bananas and then you're like whisking together the flour and then have them mix the batter together and then like you're just pouring it. Like there's so many different involve the kids. And also I think just like teaching them about like, why we're using this rather than using that, or like, the like benefits of the food too. I think that it's always good to like celebrate the benefits of whatever you're eating. So like it's still beneficial to eat pasta. Like those are
Right.
good carbs you can eat and stuff. So like always like placing the emphasis on celebrating whatever the food has to offer, no matter what you're eating, I think is super helpful for kids too, so that they don't, have this idea of like good versus bad,
Yeah.
and they think that, you can, be happy. And, I think they'll like also naturally gravitate towards like just eating healthfully as well. So yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
think
kind of
it's been interesting. So, I have a daughter and she's 7 now and she's grown up in the kitchen baking with my husband David. And
aw,
it's funny though, kind of the evolution like I've seen with her and food in our house. She obviously, sees David and I, training every day and eating the way we do. And like she looks at food like as fuel and like, well, can
yeah,
this fuel me or what's it going to be? And I'm like, oh, that's so cool to see her kind of
yeah.
look at it that way, or like, I need fuel, I need carbs. It's like it's funny,
That's
but it's
awesome.
cool when they can be involved in it. So
Yeah,
something
absolutely.
that I'm sure you've heard or people have written to you and asked about, and we hear a lot is just that we don't have time to make food at home, or we don't have time for family dinners or to cook. Can you kind of speak to that a little bit, like the time component?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll sound like a broken record, and I'm sure people have heard it before, but like I really do think that like meal prepping can save so much time and so much. I completely am on board with the fact that like there's no time during the week to like sit down and like make like a meal that's going to take 3 hours. Like nobody has that time.
Right.
So honestly, even if your meal prep of like seeing vegetables, which I think I don't know about you, but like there are like some moments where like I like have this laziness mindset where it's very interesting what I'm lazy about. There's like obviously like I get up and I run, but like slicing up zucchini, to make a 20-minute dinner just sounds like the worst to me. So like I like slice everything at the beginning of the week, prepping the rice and stuff. So literally it like I honestly eat like 10-minute dinners. Like I'm ready to go in like 10 minutes. And I think that just means like taking an hour or two on a Sunday, which, I know everyone wants to kind of relax on the weekend, but like that can be part of your relaxing, part of your weekend.
Yeah.
Like put on a podcast or a show or something, or involve the family to help you meal prep. But even the little things, like you could even go so far as to make a casserole or like breakfast into overnight oats or like chia seed pudding. But like I need a little bit of time during the week, I think is so worth it. And then I think you better eating what you've made, and you like kind of recognize all the work that you put in at the beginning of the week, and you feel more grateful for that food. But also I think you just enjoy it a lot more. And you realize that like, oh, like I can eat as good at a restaurant like in my own kitchen because
Yeah.
I like took at the beginning of the week. So yeah, it really just like a little bit of organization goes so far for the week and like relieving the stress.
Yeah. That yeah, prepping like that can help so much. And like you said, I mean, it really does, it brings that gratitude piece into it where you're able to reflect on that. And again, like this
Yeah.
food is nourishment and fuel in my recovery. And um, yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
so I've got one last question here for you, Brittany, and it's back to your cookbook because we're very excited about it. Where can we buy it? I know I've seen pre-order for it on Amazon.
Yeah.
So the book on where else will it be available, or how can people
So it's
find it?
gonna be Oh yeah, sure. So it's gonna be at all bookstores, so Barnes and Nobles as well. And it also will be available for international pre-order. The site is not something that I'm familiar with, but it is a site that like you can buy it from Australia or like Italy or whatever.
Okay.
So Amazon right now, and then it'll be in stores November 17th at basically all bookstores. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, so excited for I can't even imagine how excited you have to be. I mean, to have a
Oh
published book
yeah.
coming. I mean,
It's like I don't think that like I believe that it's happening still.
I'm
Like even
sure.
though I put in all the work, like it's gonna
No,
be
I get that. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
yeah. Yeah. It's wild.
Oh, that is. Well, we're so excited for that. And Brittany, again, we want to thank you so much for all of your support you have always showed for Catch a Lift, for,
Oh,
writing for the landing zone. Again, I really want to invite and encourage everybody on here to check out the Catch a Lift landing zone, get on the nutrition section. You're going to see a lot of Brittany Berlin articles. I've sent them to so many veterans for various things. So just thank you again. You write in such a down to earth, easy to understand way with just quality information. Lynn's texting me right now, tell you you're famous. We love having you
you're
so
great.
much a part. We love having you a part of our team and, from all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just so grateful to be able to come on and stuff and just help out. You guys are an awesome team and you're doing amazing work.
Oh, thank you. So that's it for this week's episode of Coach's Corner. We will return next Wednesday at 1 Eastern with another episode. I want to thank you again, Brittany. Thank you for sharing your story, your energy, your time with us. A big thank you to for all of your support of Coach's Corner podcast, the Catch a Lift Landing Zone, Catch a Lift website. Thank you, Lynn, and the entire CAL team for continuing to, help our veterans push forward in this world. And if there are any veterans to join Brittany and I after for any more discussion, please just leave your name in the chat box and we'll get to you guys. But until next week, and stay Cal strong.
Love it.